All right, so good afternoon, everyone, once again. Our attendees in the Zoom meeting room, and also those who will be watching via YouTube, the recorded version of this live stream, and those watching live on Facebook. Welcome everyone to our 8th Q&A. This is Q&A 8, our Q&A discussion session on APEC. And so far, we've had 8 virtual or online lectures and 8 or 7 Q&As, and this will be the 8th one. So we have 2 more to go for Q&As and lectures before we wind up the semester or end the semester. So for this afternoon, I have 3 questions that I have shared with Mr. Ako, and I'll just go through the first one, and then we'll give time to Mr. Ako to answer. And once again, a reminder, it's a Q&A session. If you have questions, comments, please feel free to let us know, and we can give you the space and time to share your questions and your comments. So we'll begin with the first one. Thank you, Mr. Ako, for joining us. I know this topic is close to your heart, and it's an exciting topic for you. Personally, you've been involved in the APEC space, and you have championed the first ever APEC meeting in our short history. We'll be turning 50 now, so we're saying short. But I hope in the future, our students now, when they're in a position of influence, in the years to come, they'll draw from your experience and from what you have done, and also try to stage another 1, 2, 3, 4 more APEC meetings to come, so hopefully. So I'll start off with the first question. Mr. Ako, what are some interesting aspects of your transition from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade to the Department of PM and NEC, as you have mentioned in your book?
Thank you, Mr. Yegura. Thank you, class, and thank you, viewers. I've done a short presentation, so I'll answer those questions as we go along. Let me share. Still not getting it right. Okay, today's lesson, the Q&A session is on my experiences and lessons from hosting APEC in 2018. So the question regarding the transition from DFA to PMNEC, it was it was interesting. Interesting for me, but a very decisive one. I see. When I had returned back from China, I wanted to do a master's. I thought doing a master's would help in supporting the advancement of my career or whatever it was then. And the only program available at the UPNG was the pilot project piloted by Professors Melam and Kawanamur and a couple of others on the Masters of Strategic Management. So I went ahead and registered, sought funding assistance from the family's COFA, which I could only, the family could only manage half of the 22,000 kina. So I went looking for the other half. And I found the other half apparently a Chinese friend of mine gave it to me. Now, this is a very interesting story. 10 years before that, before I went on post, 10 years before that particular time, I didn't have a car yet, so I was catching bus back and forth from work. So one day after work, we came from Waigani down to the 4 Mile bus stop, and as I was trying to change bus there, I saw a Chinese young man sitting there looking really lost. So seeing he was really out of place, I went and asked him, hey, what happened? And he told me, I've been robbed and I don't know how to get down to Sabama. So I had some extra coins. I think I gave him 2 kina. I said, look, you get on to Sabama quickly. It's going towards 5:36 now, so you better get down there quickly. So he got on and went down there, and then I forgot all about it. He promised his eternal friendship, and I thought it was just a gesture of appreciation from someone in need. So anyway, fast forward 15 years on, and this guy was already a multimillionaire. Couple of shops, supermarkets, a couple of projects. So I went cap in hand to see him. I went in and saw him and said, no, come in. How much do you need? I said, I only need half. The cost of the program is 22,000. We raised 11. I need the other half. And he said he'll pay for it. And then he told me, I was his genuine friend again. But the point that really struck home was that he was on his way to an interview for the general manager of a chain of shops. And the token I gave him made him to arrive in time for the interview, and he got the job. And then a couple of years later, he'd raised enough capital to buy a couple of those shops, and he was well to do. So he was happy to retain that friendship. So I went to school to do my master's in strategic management, and my thesis was on how PNG could become a member of ASEAN. Now, I thought that in order for PNG to become a member of ASEAN, it had to host the APEC Fest. Because ASEAN has more than 1,000 meetings, APEC is only a couple of hundred. So and then the 10 of the ASEAN member countries, 7 of them are in APEC. So I thought that would be a good stepping stone. So I went ahead and did that. And then by the time I finished in 2011, there was already mention about other economists were saying that those who hadn't hosted yet were free riders and all that stuff. So when PM O'Neill went on his first international engagement to Hawaii and Honolulu, and an issue came up, he decided to go straight and said, think about our hosting. So in 2012, then the late Secretary Maue went ahead to the APEC Secretariat to inform them that we were intended to host. But then before that, in 2011, I had already started drafting the operations plan on how to host APEC, just out of boredom. But I said, look, in the event, what if we host it? So it was I think 1,077-page ops plan, which I just wrote out of boredom. And so when the opportunity arose, when Shem Manosupe asked me whether we had a plan, I said we had a plan. But the transition was, like I mentioned last week during one of our Q&A sessions, transition was not easy for me. You see, I was still below the middle management levels, and my colleagues at the Department of Foreign Affairs thought that I was not good enough to run a national project, and they thought I was trying to go to the moon and back with such a venture. But there were a couple of important variables that played in the favor of me moving. Firstly was my now 13-year-old vision impaired son. He was about 2 years old, and I realized that with the salary I got at the Department of Foreign Affairs, I would continuously make fundraisings quarterly or every fortnight just to organize his AFS for his medical reviews in Australia annually. So going across to foreign affairs would going across to PMNEC would have solved that issue a bit. And also, most importantly, there were two, or I think there were three very senior officers written in from post. And I was already acting as the Director General for the Economic Development Corporation. And I knew that if those three written, one of them would definitely get this job. So not wanting to play, to hang around, wasting years down at the desk level, I took off. I just literally picked up and went across to PMNEC. And like I said last time, the files got nearly 18 months to get transferred across. But I went across armed with the operations plan, where it puts into perspective the saying of information is power. You see, all those people who thought we would never host, they never had a plan. And planning is very important. And Eisenhower, if you Google General/President Eisenhower, Dwight Eisenhower, he would say that planning is critical, but planning is not important. What he actually means is that you need to plan to move into, go from the present state to the future state. But what happens between the present and the future state would not really go according to the original plan you did to get there. That's why he said planning is critical, but it's not important. So those people who had no faith in the hosting of APEC had no plan. And that goes back to the challenges we continuously face in the international relations space, where our PNG's international relations is involved. People hardly plan long term, and when I'm talking about long term planning, I'm not talking about your work plan, annual work plan. I'm talking about strategic planning. That was a challenge with people. So when I went across with the OP plan in 2012, I left PMNEC. I left Department of Foreign Affairs in August 2012. And when I went across there, in my first conversation/interview with Sam Manasupe, he asked me, "Do we have a plan?" And I said, "We have a plan." So in the picture there, you see the first picture is me and Ernest Abel from meeting. I think he's from Sunka. I think this was me and Ernest Abel at Honiara. This was in August 2012. I was then acting Director General of the Economic Development Corporation, and I had nominated myself to attend National Fisheries, Foreign Fisheries Agency meeting for the whole week, purposely to think about my transit in leaving the department, going across to. So I asked Ernest to go and attend the meetings while I hung around at the beaches thinking, looking at the pros, looking at the cons, weighing them out. Supposed to me go now, what if walk? But and I thought that the family's requirements outweighed everything. If I had remained there, when I look back, I have no regrets. I did the right thing by moving across. Now the next picture is me. I think that's Deputy Secretary Frank Kaisi, currently Deputy Secretary of PMNEC, former Deputy Secretary of PMNEC, Mr. Trevor Meuri, and John Emilio. John Emilio is currently the Minister Counselor at our embassy in Brussels. He was the gentleman who was the APEC man in the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. So when I came back from post in China, John was posted to take over in Beijing, and I took over John's branch with all its portfolios. So in that 3 months before he left, he taught me everything about APEC, everything which he could know. Now that picture was taken in Kazan during the APEC SOM2 in 2010, 2012, when Russia hosted APEC. That was there that those two gentlemen in the middle had gone ahead and written the cabinet submission for PM O'Neill to take to cabinet to get a ministerial determination to move the APEC responsibilities from foreign affairs up to PMNEC, and also recommending me to be the new head of the APEC, PNG APEC Secretariat. I challenged that with my respect for Melanesian tradition. I gave the first option to John. I said, hey, Cox, APEC brainchild blue. You go ahead. But John was already nearly 8 months into his posting in Beijing. So he weighed out the pros and cons. No. He told me, you take it. So I decided to, after weighing them up, I was given about a week while in Kazan. That these two PMNEC senior officers told me, you have your time in Kazan to make the decision. Now, what they never told me, which I found out later, was that they had gone ahead with the cabinet submission to endorse me as the new acting director general for the APEC Secretariat. So when I eventually said yes in Thailand, we were transiting back. Mr. Isis said, hey, I know you had to say that because your name's already up in cabinet. So when I came back, I went on that Honiara trip, made up my mind. Upon returning that same afternoon we arrived, I went to the department, packed up my things, and walked across. No fanfare. One DepSec in foreign affairs tried to stop me. He heard about my family issues, and he said another posting would alleviate this. And I said, boss, posting is only for 3-4 years. Me come back and buy me a cracker here. So listen, me go find him 6 souls. Just approve my letter and let me go. Let me let me fly on my own. Let me fly on my own and see how things will work. So he allowed me to move, and I went across, jumped into the unknown. But I jumped into the unknown with a plan and my MSN degree. See, and I really want to thank and always acknowledge the UPNG for the program, because that is what Professor Melam and Kawanamur hinted to me after APEC, was that their program, he got, they harvested what they planted for the program. Because through that pilot project, some of the office, I came out from there and planned APEC. Used my strategic management knowledge to plan APEC and host it. So that was, they said that the MSN was a success, but I think it's been downgraded now to a degree at the UPNG. So that's the Mr. Edgar, that's the answer to your first question. I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ako. Yes, I remember, Mr. Emilio. I was in China at that time, and my passport expired, so I had to send my passport to him via mail, and then he was able to extend the passport. Yeah, so now he's in.
If I'd stayed there for another 1 year, we would have met there.
Yeah. Okay, my second question is, what is in your book you said something about the officers, the US officers and the Chinese diplomats, or the US diplomats and the Chinese diplomats. So the question is, what is your perspective on the crossfire between the nationalistic Trump officials and China's aggressive wolf warrior diplomats?
I'll answer that on the way there. I would like to just talk about networking and attitude for a job, to the job. So you can see the first photographs on the left, on the top and back, my APEC team. There's about 60 of them, all made up of interns from the university graduates. Some were doing the 3rd year, some were 2nd year, and all day. And this is our regular weekly kai. Just put him na cook na stand together and eat. So that was to build attitude and bonding. Now the photograph in the middle. Now before I go to the middle, because there's 3 of them, the one below shows me Chief Secretary Pomaliu and the Indonesian APEC senior official in the middle, and his deputy Andre. And that's our networking engagement now. This picture about Jeffrey Feng. This is in my this is us having dinner in my Hanobara house, and this is him meeting my parents with my late dad at my younger brother's house just across the road there, across the car park. But why I put this picture on is because in 2014, sorry, in 2000 and in 2014, I was the liaison officer. So I was rushing to organize a bilateral meeting, and Jeffrey was rushing to organize a bilateral meeting, and we were coming from opposite sides, and there was this corner. And time middle turning corner, we literally bumped into each other and fell to the ground. So I got up, and he was the one who got up first. He got me up, and we shook hands, and he said, "Hello, my name is Jeffrey," and I said, "My name is Lahui," and we became good friends there. And he told me, "Listen, we are looking forward to PNG hosting APEC in 2018. And I promised him, if you ever come on the host year, I will bring you to my village, and I will get my family to cook dinner for you, and you will eat." So I guess you can see that he was the one who gave me that blue shirt I wore on Tuesday. Jeffrey went on to head the Chinese delegation on Ocean and Fisheries Working Group Committee. So I made good my promise and brought him and his team to Hanobara. So those are some personal friends and networks you must make. You must make for future negotiation purposes. Yes, they won't have any effect, but it still gives you a sense of warm feeling that you have a friend on the other side whom you can pick up the phone and call if there's any issues. Okay. Just before we go to the China and US, so and then you having conducive environment also. So over here you can see I was the liaison officer for Prime Minister in Peru in 2016. So this is us having breakfast before his first engagement. Then you can see the team bonding session with Chief Secretary Pomaliu standing there. On the right is me and Jude. Jude was the officer assigned to the PNG APEC senior officer. So I had Jude as my backup, and I'm pretty sure he really enjoyed himself for that year. And this is my team, the PNG senior officers team. Me, my liaison officer, and my police escorts. I did say that when they were meeting, I did tell the National Organizing Committee that, listen, you may ask pleasure, but so depending on numbers, just organize for the visiting senior officials, and then I can have escorts on. I told because I needed escorts to get through traffic from Hanobara to the meeting. That's all. But these two officials were kind enough to be with me all throughout that. So conducive environment with political support and admin support was important. Now, the nationalistic Trump officials versus China's wolf warrior diplomats. Right up to 2014, 2013, 2014, China's diplomacy was based on aligning themselves with the developing economy well. That they would always tell the other side that, listen, we are all developing economies and we will support each other and all that stuff. Huh? But by 2013, 2014, under its new executive team, they started going aggressively into driving their agenda. And that's when this wolf warrior diplomat came up. So that's their brand of diplomacy nowadays. Huh? So they go after their what they want and they make it happen. And that was what happened in 2018 when they came. China and the US brought the trade war. There was already a trade war trade arguments and well, practically a trade war happening between China and the US, which started towards the end of 2017 and continued on into 2019 with Trump cutting off some of the putting embargoes on some of the trade goods and services, and China doing the same also. So when they came to Port Moresby, it was not our doing. You see, when the history will say that out of the paragraphs 9, 16, and 17 on the APEC Era Conde Declaration, paragraph 9, 16, and 17 were not endorsed because of the trade war. And it's true. They are right in saying it, because paragraph 9, 16, and 17 of our proposed Era Conde Declaration was based on was trade language, which the economists wanted included in there. And because China and the US were at loggerheads against each other on trade languages, they couldn't make it happen. Even even Prime Minister O'Neill's pleas of taking out those offending paragraphs and keeping the remaining 29, 28, 27, 26 paragraphs was not accepted by either of the parties. So they came very, very aggressively, and they came aggressively to achieve their goals. Now, you can see this photograph on the top is the Malaysian Malaysian Foreign Service School head. We had to bring them in to provide us a good and best practice on how to draft a leaders' declaration. This was in April 2018, well before November. I had a talk with Ambassador, and both of us decided, yes, let's plan our contingency in the event these two big boys bring their trade war. We'll have the necessary mechanism ready to support our drafting process. So the Malaysian International Relations Institute came to support us. And then this other photo here is with our Australian colleague Clayton Harrington, with Ambassador and myself at the RGKC building in Canberra. That's the DFAT. That's where we went to just consolidate our policy engagements. By then, we already had the 52 officials, 26 at the University of Adelaide, and the other 26 at University of Queensland, also getting ready for the policy push towards the end of the year. Now, I purposely put this photograph of then Prime Minister O'Neill, Chief Secretary, and myself in there to show that if there is a national engagement and it's politically support, you must have regular engagements and regular briefings to show that all arms of government are at one with whatever you are heading. So this was during the press conference. And while the Malaysians came, we had the maestro. I call him the maestro, a New Zealand gentleman by the name of Alex Rogers. Alex's specialty is in drafting. So Alex came and taught us how to collate all the comments from all the 20 other economies, write them on, and then slowly until all the comments have been included. So that helped us a lot with that understanding. But while on Sunday, 18th of November 2018, while the U.S. trade delegation not acceded but agreed that they would agree with the consensus, our bilateral partners from China continue to make their stance. So that couldn't, the declaration could not be accommodated. So it was renamed the Prime Minister's 2018 APEC Leaders Statement on that. So, Mr. Giro, that's how I can answer your question on that. And I know the viewers will have a lot of questions, and we'll have time to talk about them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ako. Pami move go final question, Lami. My last question. The last question is for our students, current students who are studying this course and listening to our discussion, and those who will be reading your book as well. So the question is, do you think PNG is capable of hosting another APEC summit? If so, how can we improve the experience compared to the previous summit or the summit that you were part of?
I've been out of the government system for the last 3 years, but I've continued to engage through my current line of work with government, and the biggest issue will be capacity. Capacity will be the biggest issue, and I'll show you as we go to that question. You see, this is the chair's assistant. You can see that we have 2 assistants, myself and Jacinta Warkai, current secretary for Department of Trade and Investment, flanking then Foreign Affairs and Trade Minister Rimbing Pato. I'm not sure whether this capacity is there. Okay, because the chair's assistant, the role of the chair's assistant is to inform the chair when the chair opens up the after reading the agenda, and then opens up the floor for floor for discussion by the economists. While the chair is talking, you will see that the flags are going up now. So you need to be fast in saying, okay, Australia, Russia, start listing them down. And you list all of them down. So once the chair says that, okay, now we'll open the floor for comments, you give him the list. And he will look at it and say, okay, I will go with Australia. Australia, you will be followed by Malaysia. After Malaysia, I will ask New Zealand. And then after New Zealand, we will ask Vietnam to speak. And then as other flags are going up, you continue to note them. It's not that easy. During that trade ministers responsible for trade meeting, for some reason, the chair decided to not ignore, but decided to silently give the Papua New Guineans the last spot to speak. So in the first session, our Minister for Commerce and Industry put up his flag. I think he was the 5th or 6th minister to put up the flag. I put him down as number 5, number 6. I gave it to the chair. The chair said, Lucimer, emas place, can totok bien. So after everyone finished talking, the floor was given to Papua New Guinea to talk. The good minister remembered that. And then during the second session, the chair started deciding on who to speak, not following the list. And that caused some confusion, because the economists know the time, all counting more flag. 1, 2, 3. If they feel that they are ready, they put up the flag, and they know that they are number 6 to speak. And the moment you sidestep them onto what? I had the Russian senior official standing right at the back, going like this at me. So matters came to a head when the chair wanted to go and use the restroom. So he said, listen, I think I will, he asked me, Mr. Kob, do I ask our PNG delegate to be acting chair while I go and use the facilities? And I said, no, you call a tea break. I said, but we just came back from call another tea break. So he called another tea break, and he went up to the facility and also to 1 or 2 of his bilateral meetings. Now, I went across to see Richard Yakam. Richard Yakam was assisting the minister at the PNG flag. Now, you will all notice that the APEC sitting arrangement has Papua New Guinea facing the chair. You start from Australia, Brunei, Chile, China, all the way. So by the time it comes to P, it's facing the chair. When I went across, Richard Ekam was the first one to stop me before I could see the minister. He came and said, "Hey, Eli, what's happening?" I said, what's happening? What do you mean, what's happening? 2 occasions, we put up our flag or at number 6 and number 3. Now you play with the me play also on them. But say, chair to court sema, you may ask place. No. And that you see, Richard has a point. You are trying to give your intervention based on the interventions of others. In order not to miss the tide or to go in hot. No, the issue then you total you come on board with your intervention and it doesn't make any sense. And I said, Minister PMO Chair wag ting lo ask him Minister logo Chair na embay go no Minister Tenon told me it won't happen. And he instructed me, now you go and make sure that when I put the flag up, I must make sure be called upon to speak. So during the third session, as we were sitting down, I was telling the chair, Minister Tokol he just smiled and said, he will see. So that was part of it. So, and then during at the end of its session, it's an assistant's role to write up the summaries. So as everyone is talking, you're writing the summaries. So as soon as the session ends, you throw the piece of paper across, and then the chair will say, "Okay, thank you everyone for talking this session, and let me summarize," and he start reading. So it's not somewhere to go to sleep. I am not sure whether in the last 6 years, we have had chair assistant experience. I am also not sure whether we have the capability of chairing APEC meetings, APEC committee meetings, because if we are to chair, let's say that we will be hosting next year, then this year the SC committee there's a committee called SCE. The incoming host chairs them. Now, there were whispers of us hosting APEC next year. The whispers started last year. But they died down when they realized that we didn't have the capability to chair SCE this year. And, most of the people have moved on. That skill has moved on. The skill acquired over 7 or 8 years from 2012, 2013 to 2018 and 2019 have moved on. You can see Ms. Waraka is now the Secretary for International Trade and Investment. Mr. Yakam is also the head of the NTO. Others have become DEFSECs. Deborah Sungi is head of the OCDA. And others are now hold higher positions. So I am not sure whether there is mentoring on that. But it would be challenging. It would be a challenge to see how that happens, because like I'm saying, we hardly plan. And having this discussion with a couple of former colleagues, when they asked me how we went about it, I said, read the book. It was planned, 1,077 pages. And by the time we reached December 2017, before we kicked off our informal senior official meeting, from 1,077 pages, we had come down to 300 or something. Because it was choreographed year by year by year, including warm-up meetings to warm up, become chair around this time, go to series development partner around this time. So it was choreographed. So every time we kicked off an activity, we tore the page off. So by December 2017, we had about 290 to 330 pages to go for the rest of the year. And then the outcomes came up. So we had the whole 2019 year to continue to harness that interest, bringing everyone to to start talking about the outcome. And therein lies another challenge again. How departmental heads get their domestic activities and align them to our international engagement. From experience, I could see that former Secretary Mumu of Transport, Treasury, Trade, Richie Yakamani's people, NISIT, DAL, they could engage those with the APEC working groups. So those are some of the challenges I see can happen, and I'm not brushing aside the territorialism that has crept into the system again. No, if you read the book, it will talk about the challenges faced by me and my team, because a certain big department didn't wish to participate, but like it was hell bent on disrupting everything. And in the process of trying to disrupt everything, they forgot about contributing to the 139 documents which we put up for that host year. And that department was pushing to host APEC again next year, without realizing these challenges and preparations required to go about doing that. But it would be interesting, because hosting would be nice also now that we have a new foreign policy coming up by next year. It will give us direction. And it was because of that lack of direction that we came up with the PNG's foreign policy on APEC, with its white paper titled The Roadmap. And that foreign policy, which was maybe considered from afar by the current eminent, or by the eminent person group who were doing the current foreign policy, that laid the foundation for Papua New Guinea's participation in the APEC process. Now, that foreign policy, when our national foreign policy comes on board next year, that can be downgraded into becoming one of the strategies of PNG's participation in APEC or the multilateral arena. That's how I see it, but it will all depend on the management of our international relations who decide to go which way. So, can PNG host another APEC here? It will be a really, really big challenge. We Papua New Guineans are very, very good at coming together for a national event. So hosting it is not a problem, but gathering the players involved and then playing it will be a big challenge, because see, we had public servants running the policy agenda. The Committee on APEC Policy Issues, the CAPI, was run by public servants, all paid on our fortnightly salaries. Now, at the other end, you had consultants running the APEC Coordinating Authority, the logistics aspect of it. And I'm using the word consultants here because they were paid on consultancy rates. Some crazy figures, which they were paid upon, and you can imagine the animosity and the challenges we team leaders went through in restraining our own teams from keeping their minds by making sure that they kept their minds on the target and the final outcome. It was like you have to fight for your rights inside and fight for your rights outside. Well, while we were doing it domestically, internationally, there were big economies saying that we couldn't host. But then the political leadership was in full support. Semana Supe, in his guidance, came about talking about how to go about doing it. And then by 2016, when he left on medical reasons, Ambassador Isaac Lupari came, and it was the 100-meter sprint. So we were blessed. We were thoroughly blessed with the APEC agenda. We were thoroughly blessed with the APEC agenda because as soon as everything ended by 2019, then the political climate changed. But we'd achieved our goals already. Now, the biggest reason why we hosted APEC was not because of the, you could say it was because of the tagging of the free rider tag. People kept on giving it to us, but it was to let the world know that Papua New Guinea was open for business, and that we were willing to bring everyone in, all the brains from the region, to come and see how well we could work together to achieve our regional economic integration goals. So I'll stop there and give time for questions, Mr. Egiora.
Okay, thank you, through Mr. Ako. The floor is now open for questions and comments from attendees. If you have a question or comment, please feel free to share with us. Mr. Ako, I have a question. If you go to the NRI website, you'll see a really nice picture of you with Dr. Sanida, the director, and it's on the page where they talk about the APEC Study Center. Could you tell us a bit more about the APEC Center, why it was established, and like what is the whole purpose or objective of the center?
Like in all things which we do, being the last economy to host, we were also yet to have a APEC Study Center. So back in 2015, I think, if I can remember correctly, 2014, we started working on having the idea of having an APEC Study Center, and our bilateral partners and also, especially Australia, said it would be nice running it out of the NRI. So we went ahead and organized an MOU, and then Australia brought in one or two of their academics to support. I think Mr. Rabu Verenagi was had DX. He used to be deputy secretary at DPM, left public service, and he had got attached to them. So NRI became the PNG APEC Study Center right up to 2018 or 2019. The purpose of the APEC Study Centers is like a research arm of APEC, of the host economy. So anything to do with the APEC agenda, you provide it to the study center, and then the study center can go do research on it, hold workshops to bring in all the required audience in to talk about that. Now, some economies have more than one study centers. Then they start diversifying into APEC Study Center on trade and investment. Some have APEC Study Center on sustainable development. Others have those other stuff. So that was the reason why it was. But then I think the MOU signed was for government to support the NRI APEC Study Center with an annual 500,000 kina funding. I don't think that was honored very much, so it fell along the wayside. So it's important. It's an important part of being an APEC member economy, even APEC Study Center. And while on that, also on the ABAC, the APEC Business Advisory Committee. Now that's a private sector membership, where they also have their own series of meetings. And then at the end of the year, during the APEC Leaders Summit, on the side, they have what they call the APEC CEOs Summit. And you have the CEOs from big companies around the region coming together to air their views or concerns on government policy and where they can find alignment. So it's a well-structured organization, APEC. And we continue to miss, we continue to still, we have very hard people to be convinced of its importance. How much convincing do we need when this is a region that has 57% of the world's market? More than 50% of the world's GDP is in this region, and here we are still looking for market access elsewhere. So yes, Mr. Eger, that's the whole reason for the APEC Study Center.
Okay, so if I understood you correctly, currently the center is not in operation because of funding issues, right?
No, God, I don't think there's any center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for the last 2 or 3 years now. I'm not aware that it's still in operation, but I've been told that we don't have a center.
Okay. So is there any other like funding arrangement to fund research for APEC in order to just keep the center going and then absorb new young graduates or other people who are interested in the APEC space.
APEC is coordinated out of PMNEC. So it will be really up to the APEC Secretariat at PMNEC to prioritize their agendas accordingly. Because going back to our last question, hosting APEC in the next couple of years would be a good opportunity to showcase Papua New Guinea's rising coming of age. Note that our PNG DSP 2010-2030 says that by 2030 we will become a middle income economy. So it would be nice to host around 2030 or 2031 to show the APEC people that in 2018 we were here. Now 12 years later we've had a plan and this is how we are now. You know, you don't just get up and Bampla host. The whole bureaucracy and the whole political machinery must work together to achieve that. This is not something you just do out of the ordinary, because it expense blame easy, and the amount of capacity building training that you need to do, the amount of training which you as team leaders must carry out on your own is there. We had to train my own team. We had to train them on diplomacy. So whatever we learn, we train them on the spot. So in fact, my team were the ones who were teaching the foreign affairs team how to go about organizing bilateral meetings out during the conferences. Told them this is how it's done, how it's supposed to be done. So it's there's a lot of opportunity there in terms of APEC Study Center or becoming a member of the Pacific Economic Cooperation Council, the PECC. PEC in its original format worked towards establishing APEC in 1989. So PEC in APEC there are three observers: ASEAN, PIF, and PEC. Most times the PIF seat is empty. ASEAN seat is always occupied, and the PEC seat is always occupied. But it was only during the China year in 2014 and during the APEC PNG in 2018 that the PIF seat was occupied. China was purposely because there's a PIFTO. The PIF rep was there based in China, so he would sit in all those meetings. And in PNG, they make send his people to attend. But apart from that, like I said, it's a question of alignment. And then when you look at alignment, then you bring it to the PIF system. Then you have New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, and Australia, APEC members over there. And I'll just say it's a question of it's a question of alignment.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. We have a question from Ipili Torovi.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead, Ipili.
Okay, my question is, this question is to Mr. Ako. From your honest opinion, do you think hosting the APEC in PNG is in the best interest of which APEC member countries, the developed or developing countries?
It's a very, very, very interesting and very good question, which everybody must know. Hosting APEC is based on each person, each of the 21's interest. Like Peru has hosted this is Peru's third year to host, a third time to host. So Peru becomes the only economy in APEC history that has hosted 3 times. And their reason for hosting is to showcase their free trade agreements with other economies and to strengthen those. So if we were to host, if we were to decide to host APEC next year, then we would have to look at our economic markers and also our economic plan, go back to the DSP and see what the planners had foreseen we would be at in 2025, 2026. And then based on the shortfalls in there, we make up the agenda. And then based on that agenda, you get the economists to agree that yes, the PNG year, the new PNG host year is based on this agenda, which we can agree on. See, when we hosted for our host, Ambassador Pomali and I had to really go from economy to economy between 2016 and 2017. We held over 150 bilateral meetings, I think, promoting our policy priorities. And when we started talking about poverty alleviation, the developed economies said, we don't have poverty. So we had to come back again and look for middle ground. So we decided to say remote participation. That covered them because they also had remote communities. So your question is, yes, it is in the interest of both the hosting economy and the other host. There is, and that is confirmed by the participation of the leaders. Because in 2017, I'll use our example. In 2017, during the informal official meeting in December, on the 5th and 6th of December 2017, PNG introduced our 2018 hosting theme and the 3 policy priorities and the ministerial meetings that were going to be held to support that theme and the working group activities. Now, unlike other economists who have everything and they can just go ahead and come up with a theme and everybody will agree, we had to spend 2 years to get support. But it was a good thing for us to be, because as first timers, we needed to convince everyone that we could host. We could chair meetings. So when we introduced our priorities, it was unanimously agreed. Why? Simply because in the process of promoting it in the last 12 months, our APEC colleagues had gone all the way to the presidents and their prime ministers, telling them that in briefing them for the following year's host, this is what PNG will be talking about. Now, the reason why all those leaders came to the APEC summit is because they supported the agenda. That they could come, sit down, and get something out of it and go back to benefit their country. That's why it's called a cooperation. Now, if it was an agenda that was only based, it was a PNG focused agenda, and it did not cover the Vietnamese economic interest, the Malaysian economic interest, they would have told us in bilateral meetings, dislaya, mipla nogat lo place, so mipla panim had legally agree. Then we would have come back and changed it, because APEC is based on consensus. Once everybody agrees, then it becomes an activity. It becomes part of an agenda, which is the reason why during the APEC summit that I had to go up and down APEC house for nearly 4 hours, going from economy to economy, asking them to reconsider their stance on paragraph 9, 16, and 17. Because if only one says no, it cannot work. And so that consensus system worked in the opposite for us, because the consensus process is put to support and to make all economies equal, so that the larger economies cannot be overbearing or push the agenda on the smaller one. That's the reason. If a smaller one says, I don't agree because it's not good for our people, then you have to pull this thing aside and into what they call bilateral meetings and get peer pressure approval, or you have peer reviews to find out the middle ground, which can get everybody's approval. So hosting APEC is good. Hosting APEC is a good thing, because, you know, if you visit the APEC website, you will see that everything that talks about the economics of a country is all there in the APEC committee structures. Now, in 2018, we brought that whole economic development committee structure to Papua New Guinea. Most departments missed it. Most departments missed converting or using those brain power that came for our purposes. What would have stopped a departmental head from inviting the delegation head of the customs compliance working group to your department to talk about bilateral stuff? They all came to our country 4 times in the year. And then after the APEC hosting had been done and dusted, people kept on talking about capacity building, going abroad to see capacity building. Those guys had come for us 4 times during the informal senior official meeting in December last year, and then during the 3 SOMs throughout the year, and then during the leaders meeting. They were all here. They were there for you to utilize. Because during the first bilateral meetings, Ambassador Pomali, who was the SOM chair, told the economists, anything you want, any arrangements, any cooperation, let me know. I will connect you with the necessary departments. And this was at the SOM level. Then if you brought it down to the working group level, the actual departments were meeting with their colleagues at the customs compliance meeting, at the standards meetings, at the agriculture, at the ocean fisheries meetings, at the health working group meeting. They were all there. So hosting international conferences is an opportunity to share best practices. But again, if you have a plan to do it, then it would support it. But you just go at them soon, all of a sudden came up with some, hey, listen, why don't we talk about cows? You know, you go to the agriculture working group and you talk about the cows with the Peruvians. For goodness sake, the Peruvians have what? 50, 60, 70 or more types of cow. So they'll ask you which type. So yes, Mr. Torby, it's not in anyone's particular interest, it's in everyone's interest, because you need consensus to host. Sometimes, you know, some economies have not hosted yet, ever since they hosted the first time, like Canada, Australia. I think the last time Australia hosted was in 2006 or 7. So pressure stop all now, but they're looking at their own economic systems, the economic development agenda, and seeing where, because you need to, when you are hosting, you need to come and talk about a major international issue that is happening. And for us in 2018, it became digital, because everybody was already talking about innovation and the digital economy. And when PNG put up its hand to host and its main agenda was on digital economy, people were making fun of us, saying, hey, man, your internet costs are so high there, and here you want to talk about digital economy. What they didn't realize is that we want everybody to come and help us, give us some ideas on how to decrease those costs. Where do we need infrastructure for this? And so look at it straight after 20, and look at how we've gone in leaps and bounds. Steven Matainaho has used the APEC outcomes to come up with this digital policy. The PNG Customs have continued on from this, one of our outcomes, to come up with the there are 18 agencies who are doing the integrated system on export and import. Then you IPS released its a PNG investment treaties booklet. Those are all part of the outcomes. Hosting is not part of the logistics or security. It's important, but they're not important because you can have a well-secured conference room. You can have high-tech, state-of-the-art conference facilities. But if there's no agenda, no one will come. The agenda makes the meeting. All of us are here talking to one another because we all of us agree to talk about this agenda. So me by talk, now you are also interested in Loharim, so you all of you were here. If I had come and if Mr. Aguirre had talked about coming and talking about how to chew Bitulnat, I would have said no, me get not walk here. Sorry, I can't come. Because the agenda does not match our interest. So always remember it. When you attend a conference, whether it's or some Uncle Auntie go attend one Women's Fellowship Conference or Synod or what, ask them, what is the agenda? Because if the agenda is to just go and meet and greet, then you are wasting the church money to have this whole delegation to fly from Medeng to Mosby to attend this thing and go back, and then in Sunday or report me go to Salim greetings come. If someone asks them now what agenda, I'll come on it. So note that the leaders came to Port Moresby in November 20 because of the agenda. They knew that they could go back home to Russia, to the US, to China, to wherever they came from, because the Era Corner statement was would provide them would complement the economic development agenda.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Akona. Thank you, Ipili. Max Vital, you have a question? Oh,
No, I don't.
okay. Anybody else with a question or comment for Mr. Ako? Mr. Ako, looking at milk logo, the picture of you na Jude, yeah? And I have a question related to that. I like you have so well explained the APEC Secretariat sits under the Department of PMNEC. And in the Department of Foreign Affairs, we have the multilateral division and we have the Asian branch. So how does the DFA work with PMNEC in that space? Is there any duplication or work crisscross, or there's like, you know what to do, there's specific job descriptions and functions that you do and you don't overlap each other, or can you, yeah, from a technical point of view, can you just enlighten us?
This photo you can see is during my farewell from the public service. So we all decided to dress up and come. But yours is a very, very top question. Now, when we build the structure, I decided to use the team of teams structure to build the National Organizing Committee, where it is not a top-down approach, but it's a flat approach. If you look at let me draw it here so that can you see it?
Maybe unshare and then
Unshare.
yeah,
Okay, let me stop sharing and then I'll show you. Okay. So this is, you can see the overlapping circles, huh?
Mhm.
Okay. If you have a read of General General Stanley McChrystal's team of teams, he talked about having teams within teams within teams within teams. So in that way, we didn't confuse the idea. So during that time, the APEC coordinating unit, the APEC unit, the DFA's APEC unit, paid a complimentary played a complementary role to what the PNG APEC Secretariat was doing. So they had team members in they had team members in all the committees. Yeah, go ahead, draw it. Circles. Yeah. Okay, so I draw some on the other side too. So there must be a middle circle. Draw a couple of circles around the middle circle. No, outside. Yeah, outside on the edges. A couple of circles on the edges of the circles. Let me try from here. anyway, so when you draw intertwine in circles, then you will realize it becomes a team agenda. So I'll have so from my team of 20, we had the Madam Julie Wapo leading the trade and investment team, and in her team you had Richard Yakam and all the others as part of the trade and investment executive team. But within those teams, they had the agriculture team, the customs teams, and foreign affairs and all the other team members had each members in those. So when we had 8 a.m., let's say we had 9 a.m. briefing of all the teams happening at the same time, then Ambassador formally could receive reports real time on what the subcommittee on customs and compliance were meeting on. Now, if you look at the normal top-down approach, then the meeting would have happened some other times, and then the reporting structure would have taken time to go up. So the result would not have been real time. So based on that was where we had the APEC unit from DFA, Richard Yakam's NTO, and all the other major departments supporting the APEC process at the same time and as equal partners. There was no top-down approach. Although people thought there was a top-down approach, it was a flat approach. Everybody was equal, but there were team leaders in all of them. So that's how the Department of Foreign Affairs were participating in it. And I think the challenge has come up now that they did not understand the team approach properly after we had all left. So there is an issue of coordination, I think, at the moment. So if you were to call a CAPI meeting, I would not know how the turnout would be. But like I was explaining the answer to Mr. Torobi, hosting happens when there's a major international initiative in the region that needs to be advanced. Then that's when economists put up their hands to host, because they think that within their grouping, they can further advance the questions or queries on that particular initiative. So you look at the Singapore in 2009, I think that was during the Asian finance meltdown. So the Singaporeans thought that they could bring everybody on board to talk about issues that could solve the financial meltdown. And then he went across to Japan in 2010, was about the review of the BOGO goals. So economists put up their hands based on their undertakings. I think I'll answer it that way. But please, Google, have a look at General Stanley McChrystal's team of teams. And it will give you a picture of how huge teams across multiple organizations can be managed from the central circle.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ako. You can stop. I was trying to draw that, replicate the circle and didn't really do a good job. So anyway, I went on too, so I sleep and like, yeah, man, right now. Okay, any more questions for Mr. Ako? Comments? We have roughly 15 minutes remaining before we wrap up, conclude our discussion for this afternoon.
Yeah, go ahead.
Equally, has another question.
Okay,
Yes,
go ahead.
please.
Okay, thank you. China is a growing power in the Pacific region and is also a member of the APEC. However, scholars have written about China, labeling China's interaction with third world countries as neocolonialism. Is this statement true?
Thank you, Mr. Torobi. It will depend on how you look at it. Like I mentioned about the China's change in diplomatic tact. Yeah. Right up to maybe 10, 15 years ago, they used to align with the developing economy as one of the developing economies. And then as soon as the new executive team came on board, they started pushing the agendas ferociously. And that's when they got the tag of the wolf warrior diplomats. And if you read my book, it talked about how they were trying to push the agenda vigorously by making sure that making sure that PNG complied with it. But we had a plan, so we were going by the plan. But it is true that with the current increase in geopolitics undercurrents, it's making it very, very obvious. And you only have to look at the visits earlier this year by Foreign Minister Wang Yi. You had to look at how they are competing over a foothold in the Pacific region, and how they can advance their interest according to their plan. While that is happening, we also have to look around in our neighborhood, and if we haven't realized it, Indonesia is also coming up big. And it would be wise to diversify our thoughts outside of the current geopolitical competition run by the big players. It's wise to diversify our thoughts. But with an upcoming new foreign policy next year, that can give us directions on how to go about doing it. And it is not wise to play one off against the other. Because if you play one against the other, then you must have a couple of trump cards in your back pocket, which you can use to support him game blue. If you're just playing one off against the other just because you happen to be the bridge that connects Asia to the Pacific, they'll fly over us and go straight to another Pacific island to push their agenda. No. When you look at the history of World War II, you will see how General MacArthur played his leapfrogging military tactic. He fought at Guadalcanal, jumped over Papua New Guinea, went all the way to the Marshall Islands, Tarawa and all the others to fight there. And he jumped over a couple of islands and then went straight to bombing Japan. When you jump over countries, you leave those countries isolated. And with China's growing or already grown powers as an economic giant, it will not be wise on Papua New Guinea's part. And when you read the foreign affairs journals or talk with Australian colleagues, they will tell you that, and from the way we see it, Australia does not have any issues with PNG striking economic arrangements with China. Australia also has economic arrangements with China. China is some of its biggest markets. It's the structures in play that should support that. And our biggest challenge at the moment is our structures. Our biggest challenge. I had a talk with yesterday on military diplomacy, and when they asked me about whether the military diplomacy was working with development partners, I said no, because we have to improve our infrastructure here. No, it's no use going and training in high-tech warfare initiatives or programs and coming back to what we call the harsh realities of Papua New Guinea. There must be a balance. And once that balance is set, then we can go training all the way up to the moon to train to become astronauts, because we have the facilities here to support them. And I think that method was appreciated. And I say that here again, we have to build up our structures to support any capacity building exercise that we can do. And I think that has been our issue all along. Going abroad for capacity building training, coming back, and those things you learn in law abroad there, you're not looking here because of structure not straight. Same or some. Let's say that you went and you played on a well-paved, a well-lawned stadium, and then you come back here and you asked to play on a backyard with that same skill you kissing upside. So geopolitics is here to stay. We have to keep strong and keep true to our PNG DSP that's driving us, and also the role in MTDPs. So as soon as this MTDP 4 ends in 2027, 2028, and the new MTDP 5 comes on, we have to be true to it, and you have to be committed. And you look at when we watch the NRL games, you look at the coaches and the players not doing anything crazy. They are keeping to their game plan because they know that they keep on doing it until the gaps will open and tries will come. Unlike the wooden spooners, they're desperate, so they'll try everything under the sun. So that's how it is. Those are my personal views, and I think in the process of your employment career, you will come up with your views, because times would have changed in 10 years' time to warrant those views to come in. You can't use the views from 10 years ago now, and that's the biggest challenge we have with our thinking. Our biggest thinkers, we are still utilizing our thinking capacity from 10, 15 years ago to come and tell us how to drive an agenda in this time and age, and I don't think that's fair on our people.
Yeah, interesting point raised by Mr. Ako, and thank you for the question, Ipili, as well. If you look at, was it on today's paper or yesterday, the Deputy Prime Minister Rosso came out and talked about boosting the intelligence, NIO and police intelligence and all the other intelligence divisions in defense and customs. And if you look at it, if you want to play all these powers against each other, we cannot do it with diplomacy alone. I mean, we have to have all the debt, dig up all the debt about the US and Australia and New Zealand. And this will only come about if we have a very effective intelligence community and operatives who are every day collecting open source and closed source intel and providing advice to the Prime Minister. At this point in time, we are not at that level. So it's going to be a really difficult thing to do, especially for this country and the rate or level at which we are playing the game. So it's going to be a really big challenge. I mean, not only in terms of intelligence, but all other aspects, if you look at it. So it's a major challenge for PNG. We can talk, but then we have to be intelligent and we have to have all this information at our fingertips in order to guide the way we make decisions and policies and laws and all that, in order to maximize our gain from the current geopolitical competition that is happening. So it's a really big challenge. I'm glad that the Deputy Prime Minister is putting his foot down and trying to increase funding to NIO and all the other intelligence organizations, and also get them to go for training overseas, get more training from CIA, Mossad, and ASIO, and all these other established foreign intelligence organizations from our development partner countries. Okay, so before we go, make sure you get a copy of, go to the library and Mr. Ako's book, God Knows Best, APEC PNG 2018 My Ways, on special reserve. You're only allowed to borrow it for 2 hours, I think. But I started reading the first few pages. It's a really I've been reading textbooks and journal articles for the past couple of weeks to write my PhD proposal, and this one is really nice. Story blam, his story, everyday experience, the talk and make on the different old man. It's like so it's written in a narrative way, and yeah, my brain was really tied up with reading all this complicated literature, but I mean, in Islam, it's just flow. So yeah, that's just my first impression comparing this book and then reading all these other structured literature from academic sources. So I really enjoy this conversation with others and the story about Solomon Islands and then pondering about his transit to PMNEC and all that. So it's a really good book, easy to read and go through, and it will give you good insights into the public service, PNG's public service, the experience out there. So people, all future public servants and politicians, make sure you get this book and read so you can understand the context in which we are living and working in.
It's only
Any last words before we wrap
yeah,
up?
no, thank you for that brief overview. It's the book is made up of maybe 1/5 of the diaries I kept. I'll show you all. This is my study, and let me show you all the containers you have. You see, these are all the material I used to write that book, and I only use one box of those. The other 3 boxes are still there, and I thought they would make it become more boring. So I only used up a 1/3 of my a 1/5 of my diaries. Maybe the others will use them for more academic writing. There's about 3 diaries full of the leaders summit and some observations on there. But thank you very much. Please have a read of it. You'll see that right at the end of it, I made my comparison of the management styles of Chief Secretary Manasupe and Ambassador Ivan Pomaliu and Ambassador Isaac Lupari. So that would be interesting also. And yeah. So thanks for that. Mr. Aguirre, I think I'll stop there. Are there any more other questions?
Any more questions? Otherwise, we'll stop. Yeah. I'll make sure I read to that part. It's good for those students studying foreign policy analysis when you look at leaders and their management styles and compare how they manage the organization and the type of decisions that they make. So definitely I'll include that in our curriculum or in our unit next year as a major reading. So we add that to our reading list. Okay, Lucas Nogat, so we'll
Just,
stop there. Yeah.
for next week, timing might be a bit inconvenient for me. So we can go offline and discuss that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Di ba ko school, ino yung so migo find him certification or train the trainer. We need to keep relevant. Otherwise, this knowledge might not be relevant next year. So I need to go get some more survey on how to train trainers. And I only saw that we only have a 20 minutes break. So I said, I better talk to Mr. Aguirre that will not allow me to speak on our favorite topics. So we'll go offline and discuss possible timings, other alternatives, both for Tuesday and Friday. All right, without that, with that, Chabas know what other stuff. Thank you very much for listening to me, and school good. Have a good weekend.
Oh, sorry, people, there was a technical issue. Went offline for a bit and came back, so we'll end here. Thank you, all of you, our viewers, and hope to see you again next week. Especially those of you on YouTube and those watching via Facebook, thank you again. And that's all, bye for now.